welcome everybody to the Box Home videos. We're so glad you're still watching these.
Yes.
So today we're going to talk about the importance of speaking well of each other, especially when the other's not around.
Yes, we want to talk about this because it is so culturally normative to joke around in a really negative way about your spouse. And so it looks like a joke, but there's a lot of truth in it. And it's just seems to be okay to be taking these digs at your spouse. In general, for women, this tends to look like taking jabs at your husband's capability. And so it may be how incapable he is of taking care of the kids when you're traveling for work. Or it may look like how incapable he is of doing anything to show up for your anniversary. Things like that. What does it look like for men typically?
For guys, it can look like a lot of different things, but I think one general theme is that we will complain about how much our wives complain or nag on us or how much they demand of us. And it's like, can you believe my wife wants me to do this? Or things like that.
Oh, I get that. Well, if you know us at all, you know that we love to joke around and even take jabs at each other when we're talking to one another. But what you can know is that we joke around in things and areas that we're both comfortable with. And so a real practical example is Jake, he's not a great cook.
I'm really not.
And that is something that he jokes around about. We joke around about it together. And so you'll hear me and a group of friends joke around about his incapability of cooking. But what I'm mindful of is I'm not going to joke around about topics that I know are sensitive to him. They hit a little too close to home. And I'm not going to be joking in a negative way about him the majority of my conversation. I'm going to be speaking well of him more than I'm going to be joking around in a negative way about him.
Yeah, and that's the reason we're bringing this up is because there are real dangers to speaking poorly about your spouse when they're around or when they're not around. For example, like one of the things that it's worth thinking about is if your friends were to paint a picture of what your spouse is like, would they have a positive picture based off of the way you talk about them, or would they have a real negative picture? Like, are you bringing your spouse low in the eyes of your friends? That's worth considering. We've said we want to make sure we're not doing that by the way that we're talking about each other to our friends. Another big danger of this is that it also reinforces your negative view of your spouse. And so it's one thing to think it and then to start talking about it and telling others about it. It's just going to reinforce your own negative thinking. That's not healthy for your marriage. It's not helpful. And then another thing is that it will often get back to your spouse. So they're going to end up hearing how you've been talking poorly about them. And we all know that that doesn't usually go well. And then on a biblical side, I would want to encourage you just to know that marriage was meant to reflect the gospel, the relationship of Jesus and the church. And one of the most amazing things is that Jesus, though he has good reason to speak poorly of us, he just speaks kind words over us. And that we would say, let's do that. Let's reflect that in our marriage. And then one more thing. In Romans 12:10, we're told to outdo one another in showing honor. And I'll tell you, that is a great goal within marriage, to outdo one another in showing honor. And one way you don't do that is by talking poorly about your spouse in front of others.
We had the benefit really early on in our marriage, and really even right before we got married, of having couples that had really strong marriages speak into our lives. And a common thing that couple after couple would say was this: really honor your spouse when you're around other people. And so we have worked hard to be really mindful of that, to be thoughtful about what we're saying to our friends about our spouse. And the result of that is it's built a whole lot of trust between us.
Yes.
Like, I know when he's out with guys, he's not tearing me down. And he knows when I'm out with girls, I'm not tearing him down. That also gives some freedom for us to be more honest and open with each other. Like, I can share more vulnerably with him about insecurities of mine, or he can share more honestly about ways that he feels like he's falling short. And we can have those conversations and know that they're not going to be brought up with our friends later in a joking manner.
Mm-hmm. Now, this does not mean that we never talk about struggles within our marriage. That would be unhealthy and unhelpful as well. But what this does mean is that we try to be wise in who we talk to and what we talk about. And that's what we would encourage you to be wise about too. So here's who we talk to. We've made it a point that we're going to talk to people about struggles within our marriage, to people that we know are for our marriage, as opposed to people that are just for us. Mm-hmm. We're not trying to rally people to my side, or Krista's not trying to rally people to her side and dogging one another. We want to talk to people who are for us and will help build unity within our marriage. The other thing is what we talk about, and we just try to make it a point to talk about ourselves, not the other. And so we'll paint a picture of what's going on, but the topic of conversation, what we're looking to for help is, hey, help me love my spouse well. Help me love Krista well. Here's what I'm struggling with. Help me get through on that side.
Yeah.
Because I can fix me. I can't do anything about, and my friend's not gonna be able to do anything about other than just dog on them. That again does not help. So that's what we talk about, people, and that's who we talk to.
Yes, absolutely. So we want to encourage you, next time you're hanging out with a group of friends, whether that's over Zoom or in person, be aware of the conversation. Be aware of what you tend to say about your spouse. Be aware of what other people are saying about their spouses, and start noticing how often you're speaking ill of your spouse. Mm. And then your homework is for you guys to have a conversation, for you and your spouse to set aside a time to have a really open and honest conversation. And this is the question I want you to ask. I want you to look at each other and ask, have I ever spoken about you in a way that has made you feel small or really brought some hurt to you in how I'm reflecting you to my friends? And then I want you to listen. And if you're the one responding, respond kindly, but honestly. And it may be that there's going to be an opportunity to ask for forgiveness and to forgive, but have a really honest conversation. How do you feel about how I talk about you around other people? And then I want you to commit to one another, to work to honor one another and how you speak about each other. Mm-hmm. And so that's your homework. As usual, we are so thankful that you tuned in to this video. Make sure and subscribe so you see future videos. And if you have any questions about this topic or a topic suggestion, something you'd love to hear us talk about, be sure and text 512-851-1234. And we will get back to you. We'd love to hear your feedback as always. So have a great day, and until next week.
See y'all later.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.